Welcome to a new session, and in this session we are going to see how to set up a Linux instance and install the server with GUI packages, make it a desktop based machine, and access the machine remotely from the outside world. Okay, let me just reiterate all that. So the first step is we will install CentOS 7, or I would say we will set up a CentOS 7 GCP instance. Then we will install the server with GUI packages on the instance, and third of all, we will open the port 3389 on the firewall of Google Cloud, and I would say this is the last one. We will then access the CentOS instance remotely. So the purpose of setting up this instance is to have an environment for doing all the testing related to DevOps. Okay, alright, so let's dive straight into the topic now. So you know pretty much how to create an instance already, so I'm going to be drifting through that straight. So click on create instance. I'm going to call this Lux instance 001. I'll put it into Northern Virginia as usual, and I'll leave it in 4C. Remember, here choose the N2. Do not go with the E2, go with the N2, and select the 2 vCPU 8GB memory. Alright, I would suggest one option here. Go for the machine which is nearest to you. Alright, let's say if you have gonna be accessing from the US, let's say from New York, then try to deploy it in Northern Virginia. If you're gonna be accessing it from within London, then probably go for the instance within the London region and availability zone. So I would suggest you keep it closer to you. If you're trying it from Malaysia or Singapore, set it up in Singapore already. Alright? Okay. For the purpose of this demonstration, what I'm going to do is let me put it in Mumbai. Alright? Okay. And zone, just leave it, whichever default zone it's picking up, just leave it as it is. Okay? Alright. So we'll go for N2 here. Remember, we don't want the E2, we want the N2. And we'll go with the N2 standard, 2 vCPU 8GB memory. That should be good for us. And as for the boot disk, please change the operating system to CentOS and leave it at version 7. Change the boot disk type to SSD persistent disk, and let's give a size of at least 40 GB here. All right. Select allow full access to all cloud APIs, because we may be requiring accesses to other services from within the GCP. Okay, so this machine is not going to be running any services from the outside world like a web server, for the outside world like a web server, but I want you to enable this. And as for the SSH keys, yeah, just make sure you add the SSH key also. I had already set it up for myself, so use the same one. I'm going to use the one which I had already created, and I have already shown you the process how to do this in the another session. So follow the same from there and hit on create. Okay, so it's going to take a while for it to create. So while it's creating, I'm going to be pausing this video. Alright, so now the instance is back. The instance has been created and it is available now. And I have also opened an SSH access to the machine. Okay, so you can see here I clicked on the SSH and this SSH terminal opened for me. Now let's go ahead and do some changes there. Okay, so let's start with it. So the first step that we want to do is let's become the root user, which is most important. All right. As a standard process, what I want you to do is to make sure you run the yum update -y and make sure you update the machine. All right. That's the first step you have to follow. And also check for the OS version. Alright, so we wanted CentOS Linux 7 and it is rightly installed. Good. Now let's proceed with the next step, which is yum. I have already ran the update of the machine, so that's why I'm skipping that process. So for that, you will have to, I'll give you that process here. That will be yum update -y. I know that you know this already, but I'm just giving you for the reference once again. So then we will run the install. So remember, I'm going to be installing a group of packages. All right. So I'm going to be using the group install server with GUI. I'm sure either of them will work. I'll check it out once again. Okay. So yum group install server with GUI -y. Okay, so that's what we need to load. Let's see what's happening. It seems to be sort of updating there before starting to install. Usually, there's like about 1,000+ packages which is required for the installation of the. Yeah, you can see here there's almost like 1,032 packages which is required to be installed for getting the desktop, the Genome desktop, and that's the reason the operating system becomes more heavier. So yeah, so while it's getting installed, I'm going to be pausing the video, and once it's installed, I'll come back to this. Alright, so now the installation of the server with GUI packages has completed. Let us now proceed to the next step, which will be to check if the XRD service is installed. Or let's go ahead and by default it will not be installed, so we'll go ahead and install it. Alright, and the command to have that done is yum install tiger-vnc -server xdrp. I had a -y at the end. Alright, copy this and I'm going to paste it here and let me install this. Okay, that was remove the hyphen here and it should be okay. Yes, I'll update the command. I'll be providing these commands in along with the video in that page of the LMS. All right. Okay, so this has successfully installed for us now. So the next step is to check if the XRDP is working or it is started to run. Okay. Okay, let me check that now. It says unit not found. Okay. The Tiger VNC has successfully installed systemctl status xrdp dot service could not be found. Just checking on that. Please allow me a moment there. Alright, that was pretty much my error. I used, that was supposed to be xrdp. Alright, so let's do it again. Yum install xrdp-y. Okay, so that's the set of commands that we need to run. We'll run it now. Yum install xrdp-y. Okay, yes, that is installing now. Okay. Alright, so that was installed successfully. So now let me check with the systemctl start xrdp dot service. Alright, that was successful. Now then let's check on the status. Okay, that is active and running now. So let's copy this and add it for our search so that we can reference to this later. Then the next step that we want to do is we want to enable this. Okay, so to do that, change the status word to enable here, and that's the command we are going to use. So systemctl enable xrdp dot service. Alright, so now the setup is completed, but we still need to open the firewall. Alright, so there are two layers. One is within the operating system, you have to allow the port 3389, and also on Google Cloud, you have to ensure the port 3389 is open. Alright, so let's see how to do that. But before doing that, let's just run a test to ensure that xrdp is listening on port 3389. Okay, so port 3389 here is listening. Alright, good. So let's now set up the firewall D service. Okay, so the firewall D service is already running. Alright, so let me add that command for us here. In case it is not running, okay, in case if the firewall D daemon is not running, then we need to enable it and start it. So let me start it here for us, and let me also enable it. Okay, but in the for us it's already up and running, so we don't have to worry about it. But since it's already if it's not running, then make sure you start it and enable it. Alright, case if the firewall D is already running, then okay, we want to go ahead and add the port 3389 permanently. So for that, we will have to run the following command: firewall -cmd -permanent -add -port equal to 3389/DC. Let me copy this and let me paste it here. Alright, so that was successful. Now the next step is to make sure the firewall -cmd is reloaded. Okay, that was successful as well. Okay, see, the reason that I'm putting all the hashes here is because I'm mentioning that all this has to be done as the root. Okay, alright, Now with all these steps completed, the next step that I want you to do is to reboot the instance. Okay. Now the instance I have initiated a reboot. Let me wait for the reboot complete and the instance to come back. Alright, meanwhile, as it is rebooting and let's go ahead and check out the firewall rules. Alright, so on this page you should see the setup firewall rules. Right click and open in a new tab, and we should be able to see all the firewall rules here. If you remember, we had set this already in the previous session where we set up the Linux instance earlier. If you had not seen that, what we want to do is, we have to create a new one. I'll go and click on this one and show you what are the values that has been put into the specific rule. So allow RDP from anywhere is the description. All right. All instances in the network, or if you want to tag a specific instance, we can change that here. Your source IP has to be 0000/0. Specified protocols and ports, it has to be TCP and port 3389. All right. So it's already set for us. All right. So let's check if the instance is back online. Just refresh it. Let's just give it a second there. Okay, so the next step is open MSTSC on your machine, on your local machine. Alright, and copy this IP address here. Let's try to connect to it. And let's see what's happening. Well, it is almost successful there. So let me click on yes, and here we have the XVNC. But here I want you to do a small check. So what I want you to do is, let's connect back to the instance. So we have the MSTSC open, but before logging in, just hold on. What I want you to do is, I want you to set the password for the root, because we are going to be logging in as the root only. Alright. So it is taking a while to connect to the instance. Alright, so I'm connected there. So let me switch to root. So now the next step would be to set my root password. Okay. Just setting a temp root password for myself. You can set whichever password you want, and that is all set now. So now let me go to username is root and the password which you just set. Click on OK, and we should be having the page open now. Yes, so the CentOS GUI is available to us. Okay. Alright, so that's the procedure for setting up the GUI on a CentOS 7. Alright, so you should be seeing CentOS 8 and CentOS 9 versions also. However, for the purpose of this demonstration and testing, I would request you to go with the CentOS 7 only. Also, if you are going to do this on your local Windows machine using Oracle VirtualBox, I would still suggest you to go with CentOS 7. Alright, so that's about it, and I hope you learned how to set up the GUI on a CentOS machine today. Thank you very much for watching this session, and I'll join with you in the new session.